previously on Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
That's why I love to draw, and I wanna create Supa-Saturdays, Supa-Saturdays, Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along invites you to join MadLad, Jerome Judge Hinds as the Madness Entertainment Group Meg presents Auspicious August, featuring gods, legends, kings, and queens. So, get your pencils, pens, brushes, and stylus at the ready, and join in the tutorial fun. He'll be here every Saturday morning at 1 a.m. EST during the month of August 2026 to entertain you with superhero tutorial fun, art, pop culture, and entertaining chatter. And please feel free to leave comments below, during or after the show. It really helps with the algorithm. Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along Auspicious August.
Yes, indeed. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along with me. And very sad, we've come to the last day in Auspicious August, where we've been drawing kings and queens and very powerful entities. We've done Galactus. We've done all kinds of big, powerful characters. What else did we do? We did, oh, my memory's failing me. We did Galactus with my student. And last time out, we did Rodan on the chair, didn't we? Yeah, using a prop for someone sitting down. And now we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna mix it up. And I'm going to add this to the stage. And we're going to do the Mistress today. The Mistress is one of my characters who, she's the ruler of Dimension Z. That's who she is. And she's not to be messed with. And she's quite a big lady. So we're getting into a different physique. Last time, we did the character sat on the chair, Rodan. And, you know, as we do these different streams, I'm trying to mix things in that are perhaps not so typical. So now we've got a lady of a larger stature that we're going to draw today. And she's a girl boss, the quintessential. So it's going to be full length. So as normal, we've got the skeleton, as depicted in my book, which, of course, I will run the trailer to later on. I do my skeleton in red. So, first of all, start from the head. And we can't make the head too large because we've got the whole body to fit in. So I'm going to start from here. You can see what I'm doing there. And we're going to have a preview of what we're going to be doing in September later on, of which I'm very excited to share with you. And in fact, I'm not being totally honest with you. As I draw this, I'm not really here. I'm not really here. What's that supposed to mean? Well, actually, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a pre-recorded session because right now, as you're watching this, I'm actually in the United Kingdom. I've gone back to my motherland to see my siblings. My brother, my 3 brothers, and my 1 sister. My parents have long since passed, sadly. So all I've got left in the UK, well, apart from my brothers and my sister, still quite a few nieces and nephews, so forth, and friends. And I am there from the 13th of August to the 24th. So next week, when you see me, I will indeed be live and direct with the first installment for September. But meanwhile, this is a recording, and in fact, this is a mammoth session for me. I've been stuck in front of the computer. I'm actually recording this on, so I'm going to push my lady up slightly to make sure I've got enough space. In fact, I think I've drawn her too big. I'm so sorry at home if you've done this. If you're drawing digitally, of course, it's not a problem. But she's got quite long legs, and our camera angle is low, so the legs are actually quite large. Yep, so you want to make sure she's in that comfortably in the top half of the paper. Yep. So what was I saying? What was I talking about? Okay, remember, the upper leg is always at least as long as from the waist to the neck, including the neck. So I do like long upper legs. It's a stylization thing that I like. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm showing my age. I was in the middle of saying something what I deemed to be quite important, but it couldn't have been that important because I completely forgotten what the hell I was talking about. Comes with age. Right. As I say, you can get a good meaning from a skeleton. We want this lower leg to be longer. Then the upper leg, and then our favorite, our basic shapes to get those feet in. Now remember, the mistress will be wearing high heels. Some very big high heel like boots. Now we got a perspective. See, we got a perspective going here, going there. You got to make sure you get your ankles and your hips aligned. This ankle here is slightly above. You see that? We're locking that knee. You want to lock that knee, yeah? That's a very important part of a stance. I'm always telling my students about the importance of locking a knee. And this foot is going to be slightly rotated. So we immediately get this kind of shape going. So I want to point out some very important things here to you immediately. The angle of that knee to that knee, and that ankle to that ankle, and those hips going like that, is giving us a sense of perspective on something already. Okay? This ankle is slightly above that. That's giving us a depth of character. Very important. And now here, we put in what I call the underpants. This will help us gauge much of her form as we complete her. You can see she's got some quite broad shoulders. Now I want her elbow slightly akimbo, as we say in the Caribbean. And want the arm slinging out slightly. So about there. And what do we always say? Especially if you're drawing traditionally, what's our battle cry here at Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along? Our battle cry is, of course, save! And how can we forget? Keep those pencils light. That seems to be a favorite of my partner in crime, Q Continuum, over in Madness Entertainment Draw-Along, which I'm coming at you 1 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Oh, I remember what I was talking about now. My marathon recording sessions. Indeed. Because I just said that I'm not actually here, so to speak. This is pre-recorded. And I had a load of episodes to record. I had 2 of these, and I had to do back-to-back 2 Madness Art Attack episodes. Luckily, my partners in crime, Q Continuum and Raul, were available to jump on and record with me. I'm just going to take that shoulder in slightly. Now, Our Lady, the Mistress, has quite a large weapon. If I'm not mistaken, our very first exercise, yeah? Our character also was wielding, remember we designed a weapon. So here she is holding this up, and we get that basic shaping for a hand. Remember, one of the first things that I did when I started this stream was to have an exercise, show exercises on drawing hands and how you start with basic shapes. Now here, we've got some knuckles up here, okay? And we want the hand to be wrapping around the weapon. I like a raised index finger. Curl these other fingers. And of course, there's a thumb coming around here. Good. That's looking good. So you can see our basic stance there of Our Lady. Let's make sure that we're happy with it. I think I need to lessen this shoulder very slightly. So let me take this in just a little bit like that. And am I happy with the length of her legs? I think maybe they could be a little bit longer. I think the upper legs can be a little bit longer. So if you're drawing traditionally, just erase and move everything down slightly. Or digital, you can move it down like that, okay? Good, that's our skeleton. Now I'm gonna switch to light blue because we got a prop. And remember, as in my book, I teach that we want the prop. If the prop is important, we want it introduced at the skeletal stage, so we know exactly what we're doing. And the weapon's going to come through here. We're going to give it quite an elaborate shape. It's a bit like a wishbone. Our Lady, the Mistress, is a mistress indeed of, whoops, let's change the trajectory. The weapon goes up and over above her head. It's large weapon is. And it's going to curve behind her arm. And come here somewhere. Now remember, we're keeping our pencil nice and light. Yeah, good. That's a good start. It's a good start. Now again, I'm working digitally, so I can move my character down slightly to be a bit more comfortable. And if you're drawing traditionally, I hope I haven't caused you too many problems. Starting there. Mention at the beginning that it's a full-length character. Now, her face is slightly rotating. It's a tricky one because although she's rotating, because of the position of her body, etc., and her head is leaning, I'm aligning the center of her face with the neck, which I suppose technically wouldn't really be possible, but got a good feel here. So we're kind of looking up at her, and her head is kind of down at the same time. It's the nose. There's the mouth. Good. Got a good start there. That's our skeleton. Now, let's start to flesh out. F-O, flesh out. And in my book, I normally flesh out in gray. The last exercise I did with you guys, I fleshed out in blue. And I kind of like that. So I'm going to flesh out today in light blue. How about that? There we are. So let's zoom in on the head, shall we? So she's a powerful lady. But you've got quite a thick neck. Whoops. Change the color of your pencil, boy. Make sure you're on the right layer. So she's quite a powerful lady. But not as powerful as, say, someone like Mike Tyson. We're not going to give her a Mike Tyson neck till her neck is thicker at the base of her skull. No, we're not doing that. We're drawing through the object. She's got a lovely headgear that we're going to see later. And we're going to draw through that. So here, we can just start to put shape of her eyes in. And she actually has no eyeballs as such. Let's make this eye a bit bigger. There we go. And we can depict the nose just a little bit more. And I love the way how some of the old school comic artists would just put the top lip in solid black. Quite amazing. Quite amazing. There. That gives us the beginning of that. So now it's customary without fleshing out. I'm going to get a bit of anatomy happening first of all, okay? So we got the arm socket. For those of you who come in here regularly, you see me do this. How many times? We get the socket going, raise shoulder. We get a bit of torso going in there. Same here. Shoulder. Nice. Now look at the elbow here. Let's put in our cylinder. Bit of foreshortening here. This is coming towards us, right? So we put the bottom of the cylinder. There's the shoulder coming over. Like I said, she's quite a big girl. You don't want to be messing. And here, his arm is coming up. He draws through the object. Let's get this wrist happening. Forearm. Good. Let's have a look at these fingers that's going around. Now, you probably heard me say this before, on like a raised index finger. So there's a knuckle. Remember, the middle knuckle is always higher than the rest. It's the biggest finger after all. This is our middle finger. And we've got our skeleton. Remember, we're just doing basic shapes at the moment, okay? Don't be too concerned about getting perfect shapes on those fingers. We're just getting the fingers curling around the staff. There. Whoops, sorry. I'm going to raise the knuckle slightly because the staff goes in to the palm. There. And this arm, this hand, is going to go around the back here. And we've got the thumb. It comes up. There. We've got the palm of the hand. And on the other side, we got the lower arm, or the lower part of the upper arm. Get the shoulder in. She's got some degree of muscle. That's it. She's not the smallest. Now she's going to have quite a broad waist. Is our master's lady. So there. And let's come out a bit so we exaggerate her form. Comes on the back, around the back from the socket. You join up here. And you see, I'm not taking her waist in too much. As I said, she's going to be quite a heavy set, powerful kind of female. So here, she's at an angle, so we're kind of looking up at her. There. Good. And this arm kind of going away from us. So we make sure we get the trajectories going the correct way. Now, of course, a lot of what I'm doing here involves a certain amount of knowledge of anatomy. Right, here's our thumb. And of course, the more you know about anatomy, the easier all of this becomes. And anatomy is a very, very big subject. You can never know enough. There's always so much to know. Good. I'm going to take this up slightly and then let it drift up. Here we are. Good. Let's get to the bottom torso. We got our rusty underpants to help us shape our legs. So as I said, she's quite a big lady, so this part's going to start coming out. And we go over the top here. And then up here. This leg is slightly going away from us. So now here, remember I always say keep the joints nice and slim. Now to set that this lady is kind of larger than life, we're going to make sure that the thickness of the joints is larger than usual. And we give her some nice, powerful, round hips. Good. And here's the upper leg. Got to keep the joints aligned, roughly speaking. Good. And really got to keep the shape of these limbs accurate, as accurate as possible. She's got quite an elaborate costume as the Masteress. As customary, what we're doing here is we're drawing through the object. Now, I think, have I got carried away here? Okay, I'm going to move this in just a bit. I'm going to slim her down slightly, okay? And you follow as well. Don't worry. I'm going to play a trailer later, just in case you're falling behind. You'll have plenty of time to catch up. And this knee is locked, as I mentioned. Make sure it's quite a sizable joint. So we've got to make sure we get our anatomy on point. And as I say, lock the knee. Lock the knee. Yeah, good. And I mentioned that she's wearing like stilettos. So let's just put in a basic shape. Just put the ankle. As I said, this foot's slightly rotated. And you know how we often do trajectories to make sure we have the direction of something correct. We could well do something like that here. Make sure we get the rotation in this foot done correctly. I'm going to make her shoes nice and heavy. I think we can afford to extend that a bit. That's better. I won't say she's got size 11s, but good. Let's erase this. Good. As we sketch here, always keep those pencils light. Now we come over to the other foot. And we're kind of looking up at this leg, you could say, right? Then by then the camera's gone past us and we can say we're looking down on this. We're going to make sure we get our anatomy sound here. There we are. And make sure that outer leg curves outwards. Bring that back in. I've got the stiletto, right? So from this angle, it's going to come down. It's going to meet the floor. I think we do some center lines when we come to render this. Or sorry, before we get to rendering. There. So let's zoom out, see how our figure's looking. Okay, I would say that this leg is probably a little bit far out. So I'm going to grab it and bring it in slightly. That's better. I hope you were able to follow with that. Follow along at home with that. You see the stance. The legs were a little bit wide apart. Let me give it those big powerful thighs. Good. Now let's have a look at this weapon. Let's flesh the weapon out of it, shall we? There. It goes in the hand. It comes out here. And if you've got your fingers off a bit at this point, then of course you can go in and adjust. You know, fingers are pretty much there. And it's a pretty vicious looking weapon. Comes to a point. Good. Now it gets thin so she can hold it. Then it gets thick again. About here. And it's got a bit of form to it. It comes down here. Then the bottom gets quite bulbous, which stands and holds it ceremoniously. Put in a thick base. Now we take this all the way up, and this part falls inside. So we've got a bit of form here. There. Good. Now, bottom of my weapon is probably a little bit far away. Let's bring that in slightly. Good. So now I'm going to say what we should be doing now is I don't want us to get too lost, right? So I think we can put in some center lines, yeah? So we know the form of our character. First of all, just make this arm a little bit thicker. Okay, just for the sake of the exercise, I'm drawing through the object. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. So let's do CL, center line. So here's the center of her throat. Now her body is rotating. We could say the center of her hip area is here. And that's going to come up here. And she's slightly rotated. That would give us the center of her body being somewhere like there. Now look at this foot. You can see that's the center of the foot. So there's a slight rotation in the leg here. And then by the time it gets here, it's gone to the side view. There, we can say the front of this foot is there, then it comes down here. This will come down, the knee locking is going to stay back, and the leg is slightly rotated now. That's what the center of the thigh. And you've got a bicep here. So let's look for the center of the bicep. But then, as I always mention, arms can rotate. The center goes over there somewhere. Yeah, let's say the bicep is the center. We come to a shoulder. The center of the inside, there. And you know, we always do something called dimensions, which is when we find the sides of something. And I always depict that in purple, as you'll see in my book also. So where would we say the side is? The side is always coming from the armpit. Good. We can't see the other side there. And see the side of her leg is like here. Comes down here. Look at her boot. That's roughly the side of her boot. Now here her inner leg. You could say over here is the side of her leg, and we see a little bit whoops, that would then come up. Let's see a decent piece of the side here. Sorry, not too much. Because we kept the other side quite low, didn't we? That'll do. You could say her arm is kind of turned inwards. You can see the side would be about there. There. You can see the side of the forearm is there. I've not made her arms this buff, as I otherwise might. There's her eye socket. Beak comes down. Then I come down for the jaw. Again, beak, come down. Good. And the sides of her throat. Put it right there. That's giving our lady good form. The mastress. Well, if we got the mastress today, we had the master of disaster. Last week. So what did I just do? I just saved. I saved. So that's dimensions. I call that layer DM. So next we got contours. I call these trajectories or contours. So CT for contours. And let's have a look at the body. You can see here, sorry. Contours are always done in orange. Yeah, so did I just say that? I'm showing my age, boy. There. This arm is coming over, going towards us. And this one's got some foreshortening going on. Yeah, boy. Foreshortening. And this arm kind of going away from us. Good. Of course, you don't have to put in these construction lines, but just in case you get stuck. Right, here's an interesting one. This one kind of goes up and over. Good. Then by the time it gets down here, it's a downward contour. It's a downward dog. See that? That's coming towards us. The lower part is going away from us. Good. Same again here, coming towards us. Then change its trajectory. Look at the front of the foot. That will help us form the footwear better. No, actually to lock her knee, right? We want the knees locked. So we establish I'm going to break my own rule. I'm locking her knee. There. So this is fleshing out. I'm going to have that locking down. That's better. And what do? We, once again,
Save!
yes, we do. Yes, we do. Good. We've got basic construction done. Now, how does all of this fit onto our mannequin, her costume? Now, the first thing is she's got some quite elaborate headgear. Yeah, so let's zoom in on the head. And once again, like Rodin, she's got no eyeballs. So now we're going in for detail. And I'm going to make this layer gray. So first thing is that she has like fringe hair coming over her face, and she has like a tiara that goes over her head. So first thing we can do is let's just reaffirm her eyes, yeah. So she's got quite thick eyeliner. I'm very guilty of not zooming in enough. Always doing that, aren't I? Yeah, thick lashes. Thicken up the mascara. She's got a double eyelid and a somewhat inquisitive look on her face. There, nose very subtle. Give her lips some shape. There, good. So now we've reaffirmed the shape of the face. I'm just going to take her jaw in slightly. Bring that jaw in. And so fringe comes down to quite low onto her. Where her eyebrows are. And the mask actually comes down, or like the tiara thing, comes down and matches up near the line of her lips. So we can bring it in the other side, and it goes up and out. And this one, be up and out. Now remember, keep your trajectories on track. Make sure it lines up, okay? Very important. And for her headgear, it's interesting in that it comes down, there's a V. There's a V in the design. And it's meant to go kind of like just behind just slightly behind the fringe. And it's a fringe that break out over the tiara. I remember we did Galactus in this big headpiece as a sign of being auspicious. And she's got a decent size headgear as well. There. And the head slightly rotated. So she's got a circle. She's got a big jewel right in the center of her tiara. This is a typical piece of design by me. You'll find a lot of characters that I've designed have these traits in them. They're good. And the pattern comes around the outside. There, slightly encroaching. The fringe is poking out from underneath. There. And it would curve around here. I'm going to take that out. There. Don't forget the tiara is a perspective. You've got to take that into account. Then she's got long curly hair that comes out from behind the tiara. Drops down behind her body. Now she's got a collar. So because of the angle, I'm going to drop the collar there. We are from the neck. Bring the collar in here. See, don't forget we've got measurements for the center. You've got some sort of necklace. Remember, it's going up over her chest, so it's out of perspective, you could say. Okay, good. So there's a stitching on her clothing. So we can take that over the joint here. As per normal, remember I mentioned important characters often have cape-like things. So her costume comes down here and it's very low cut. So let's see the center. That's the center here. So we know that I've got to get the shape of the chest correct. And the break in the clothing must be equidistant from this center line. That looks about right there. Good. To continue the contours through. There. It's a fly. Sorry, there's an ant on my Cintiq. Where the devil did he come from, eh? Where did you come from, boy? Okay, and her costume here is quite cloth-like. That stitching over the shoulder, we can continue here. Then the cape goes in to the split in the dress. So here we give some indication that is bulk of cape coming up here. Good. Now she's got very long tapering sleeves, you could say. It's part of the costume design. So you've got like gauntlets. Okay, so we can put the gauntlet in. And kind of like a blouse-like material. But then on the back, coming up from the back of her arm, she's got a long piece of cloth that will encroach across the back of her fist. Almost like wings they are. Then you come down the outside. Now, interesting fact about the Mistress is that I created her some time ago, but she'd never actually been in one of my comics. And MAGA Man, the publisher from Thunderzone Comics, who my SupaCross goes out through, he had a story and he needed a powerful woman. And he asked me, do you have any powerful women in your universe that are not necessarily or roses? And I said, yes, I do actually. So the Mistress is going to appear in a comic that I'm not actually a creative force in. So Dan just took down the notes on what she's about. And she, of course, is the ruler of Dimension Z. And in my universe, Thunderzone is a collection of different independent creators, our universes. And she is, okay, for those of you out there who are familiar, certainly with the Marvel Universe, you would have heard of the negative zone. Dimension Z, you could say, is like my universe's negative zone. So again, we got this cloth coming down, tapers down. So now we can get a little bit closer to the fingers to define them. There. Lower. We give a long fingernail, shall we? Yes. Pedicure, manicure. Manicure, pedicure. And as you've probably heard me say on here before, I do like a raised index finger. Has a certain feeling to it. And give her a fingernail there. The ring finger. And little finger. There. And that palm swinging across here. I remember she's got gauntlets, right? So make sure they're nice and bulky. And let me her sleeve comes over here. We see the shape of our arm behind. I'll have to have a whole section. So my computer's doing a time lapse. You saw it saving there. So it kind of starts to lag. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a section, I think, one of these days on drawing cloth. Because drawing cloth isn't easy. So here's her gauntlet underneath. Yeah, we choose to the object. That part of the arm will not be seen. And it comes down around the other side. Drops down here. There we are. There, dripping down. Good. Now, let's have a look at the form of this weapon. So I'm going to have it folding towards us. So if you put that coming over there, I'm going to put a hump there. Just so it's a little bit more interesting. And in true Jerome Hinds style, it's a jewel on the front of it. I bet you'd never guess that I draw that, would you? There. And this part is in front. So it's in front of her fist. It's in front of the master's fist. So it's going behind. Whoops, sorry. It gets thinner so she can grip it. Draw through the object, and that comes through here nicely. Good. I didn't actually measure the weapon. The most careful. There. Okay, let that fall in front. Fall in front. And this goes up behind. Fin to a curve, nothing too aggressive there. Okay, how are we doing? Yeah, the masterpiece is taking form. Good. So next, let's take a look at the costume around the center. Now, the thing is, like we saw with our very auspicious character from before, she has a large piece of costume hanging down the center. So I'm going to put a line in here, the waist area, to give us some sort of gauging. Sorry. I've got my construction there for that, haven't I? So I want to put a V in here, and it has to come close to the center line, right? There. And then it goes up the other side. Always remember to keep your symmetry. That's very important. And that's going to start to go away from us there. And the pattern goes outwards. Same here. Pattern go out, up, and around the body. The body. It goes up over the hips. Good. Go up here. Nice. Nice. Then she's got like a pattern that comes on the side, and to where the underpants leg would be. Comes down here. Now the big decoration that hangs down from her waist, remember she's slightly off-centered. So it comes from the edge of the pattern. One second, let me make sure my pattern is equal. Oh, there's a bit of foreshortening going on there. So the pattern would move over slightly. Then it's going to come down, and it goes to past her knees to about here. So we can take a vertical down to meet this line down here. Good. Jolly good. Then here, like the gauntlets, there are 3 sections. Whoops, sorry. Drawing across my decoration there. Silly boy. Then it's a line that comes down here. There again. How are we doing for time? Just over an hour gone. We should be fine. Okay, now we have to imagine a line coming through here. There's a V. That subtle shape is M for mistress. And you've got 3 circles. 3 domes on her kilt. 1, 2, 3. So always checking that they're roughly equal distances from each other. Now she's got high boots that goes over her knees and down to near her calves. So let's come up here. Her knee is there. Yeah, that locked the knee. That's very important. There's a pattern that goes around the top. Comes down. Then it actually goes to the front of the boot and into what we call the shin area. Now, as the boot goes around, she's got some of those contours at the back of her leg, similar to the ones on her gauntlet. This comes across a bit like if it's leather, there's a bit of creasing behind the heel. And it's a band that goes across her thigh. Let's just follow our trajectory, shall we? That should be easy enough. And that means that she's got some pretty big stilettos. And what we're going to do is we let her, going to add a sole to them. There. That's that. Did. So now we come to the other side. Make sure the boot is the same height, roughly speaking. And it comes down to about this point here. Right, this song goes on. I play this song for the whole show, but I just never get sick of it. So now we put a band on this leg as well. Okay, the boot has a thickness. And we've got a pattern in front. Gonna make this front part a little bit thicker here, I think. Yeah. Make that a little bit thicker. So the boot comes in. Quite a square looking boot will come over there. Got to make sure I keep consistency on the thickness of that shoe. So with the recorded shows, etc., I think I've been in front of my computer. Oh, actually, I'm not even sure. But I can feel my voice. It's beginning to go. God damn. So now there's a pattern on the front of the boot. which is similar to the gauntlet pattern, etc. 1, 2, 3. And remember, this pattern comes down to a point on the lower leg. There we are. You zoom out, see what we got. And a cape hanging behind her. It's going to come down behind here. And remember I said before, the bigger someone's cape is, the more they mean business. And the Mistress is no different. She's got a pretty big cape hanging behind her. And it's going to hang here. And you would see it encroaching there. Good. So how are we doing for time? Just over 1 hour. We've made great progress on the Mistress. So what we can do is we can go in for some final detail and just do a bit of rendering. And before we do that, I'm just going to run a quick trailer. Thank you so much for tuning into Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along with me, Jerome Hinds. And just pause that music. And I've been accused of not shilling, not trying to sell what I do enough. So here's my new book that's available on Amazon. And hopefully you like what you see and you support me and get yourselves a copy.
Paying tribute and great homage to the United States of America on its esteemed 250th birthday comes How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book, a 188-page activity book that launches on July 4th, 2026. Written and illustrated by Jerome Judge Hinds, president of the Association of Comic Artists Singapore. Comes the ultimate tribute to the birthplace that brought to the world the splendor of superheroes and comic books. Jerome is a creator and senior editor at USA-based Thunder Zone Comics, and in the book, he shares with you the knowledge and methodologies of his work from over the past 8 years, all neatly wrapped up in a 10-chapter step-by-step tutorial. He covers full-length character construction, studies in hands and feet, secrets in foreshortening with props and weapons wielding, plus penciling techniques, inking, digital coloring, and even comic book cover layouts. It's all here and available in both soft or hardcover. And if you really can't wait to get your hands on the physical thing, there's always the digital guidebook edition available for pre-order now. How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book, with Jerome Judge Hinds launching Independence Day 2026. Exclusively available from Amazon.com and launched streaming live only on Madness Entertainment Group.
So you saw that and you heard that. I hope to win your support. And sold a few copies already, which is great news. Splendid news. And I'm going to play you another trailer later on that's going to relate straight back to what you just saw. So let's get into a bit of rendering, shall we? So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch off our construction. There goes the skeleton. There goes the fleshing out. There goes the center line. There goes the dimensions. There goes the contours. So let's see what we're left with. Okay, good. So what we can do is, let's do some tighter pencils and maybe a bit of spotting. Yeah. So now we've got our basic sketch. We're doing what's called rendering. Good. And the jewel. I'm going to put some texture into that. And one of my children is opening the door and spraying on me. But it's too dark, I can't see who it is. And there we have. Put a highlight on her lip, shall we? Yeah. Put a bit more feeling in the nose. Same with the eyebrow and the eye expression. Make her a little bit more angry. I'm going to thicken those eyelashes slightly as well. There. Look at the outer eye a bit more. There's eyebrows. And there's the edge of the mask. Got quite curly hair. Put a bit of contour for her neck. There, good. And we've got her cape that goes over the back. Costume in here. Creases in the cloth. As I mentioned earlier, it might be worth having a session on such things as cloth. I know my students always need help with cloth. So if you would like me to explore cloth in Supa-Saturdays, please drop me a line. Good. Pretty good, a complete sketch of Our Lady. That is the Mistress. And she's got a certain degree of contrast about her, where certain parts are black. And what I do today, for a change, is we can put in kind of a contrasting of sorts. I'll do a contrasting shading of her blacks. So I'll call it spotting. Whoops. I like to put a pencil texture into into what would otherwise be black. So what we do is we go into a separate layer, we call it spotting. Whoops. Oh, there's a gap in my pencils. So, there's still a gap in my pencils. What the? Now there can possibly still be a gap there. No, that's better. And what we do is we get a big pencil, because I like the texture of it, and we fill in that area. And then we knock it back slightly. I'm going to double up the pencil layer. And let's see what other parts of our costume. Has it got a gap in it? I'm going to try and close that gap a bit. Okay, that's better. Okay, let's contrast this area. Good. Got a bit missing here. In there. And there. When designing characters, knowing the areas that would be solid black, it can make a huge difference to your character design. And this is especially true if you're doing a book that's black and white, typically like manga. Characters need to have areas that are strong in contrast. The most common example you see of this is you'll see a cast of characters, and one has the clothing in the lower body might be a dark color, and then another person in a cast of characters, the dark parts of their clothing or costume is the opposite of the other person. That's to give instant recognition. The things that help you easily recognize someone, of course, is a hairstyle and color schemes. And then you have toning schemes, I call them. And if a character has good contrast, definitely when it comes to reading the story, the reader will be less confused. So there. Okay, you can see the parts of a costume that are dark. Let's put her gown area dark as well. We leave her cape a bright color. There we are. Nice. Nice. Good for nice. fill in these bits of detail here. And then finally, this book. Yeah, got no gaps. Whoops. This part should be left open. And put a bit of texture in these circles. Good. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of texture. I need to call it a tesseract. Good Lord. Done for franchise, boy. Done for copyright. And let's put a bit of the hat in contrast. Why is that not working? Oh, wrong tool, silly man. I'm running out of steam, ladies and gentlemen. I've been here. Well, I'm not even sure how long I've been here. It's a long time. Okay, so I think we've pretty much reached the end of the Mistress. And she would bring our auspicious August to an end. So I'm going to zoom in. So we were looking at the trajectory of the feet and holding the weapon. Remember drawing that as a prop at the beginning. Whoops, I drew through the object there. Naughty boy. There. Good. So thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, as I mentioned, I'm not actually here. As you're watching this, I'm in the UK. I'm pre-recording this about 2 weeks ahead of time. And next month, we've got something great coming up. Take a look at this.
Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along invites you to join MadLad. Jerome Judge Hinds as the Madness Entertainment Group presents Super September. That's right, you'll be learning how to draw characters from the Judge's SupaCross miniseries. And this is the crossover of crossovers, because all you'll need is a pencil, as this is in preparation for Inktober, where you'll get to ink all the pencil exercises from the previous month. And this is all truly in the style of Judge's new book, How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book. Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along Super September, only on the Madness Entertainment Group Network.
So you saw that and you heard that. That's coming at you from next September. So you get those pencils, those pens, those brushes, those styluses at the ready. And so that was totally misinformation. You only need to get your pencils at the ready, because it's going to be all pencils, similar to what we did today. And we'll be heading into Inktober, the month following. So whatever we draw in September, we keep those pencils nice and safe, and we will be returning to the same drawings in October for the month of Inktober, as it's commonly known. And this really does follow how the exercises are built up through the book that I just published, how to draw characters from the Thunder Zone. So please do check that out. Meanwhile, have a great August, and I will see you next week. One more trainer, one more trainer. What will it be? One more trainer.
Previously on Madness Art Attack.
Madness Art Attack! Madness Art Attack! Madness Art Attack! Madness Art Attack! Supa-Saturdays! 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 Draw-Along! Supa-Saturdays! 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 Draw-Along! I love heroes, no matter their age and no matter their size. I wanna be a hero, that's why I love to draw and I wanna create. Supa-Saturdays, 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 Draw-Along.
If you missed the live viewing of any Med production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. Madness Entertainment Group.